Hey, welcome. Today we are going full-on linguistic detective. We're going to take just one single, really complex historical name and unpack the incredible story that's been hiding inside it all this time. So right off the bat, let's ask this. Can a single word actually tell a story? It sounds kind of out there, right? But I promise you, the answer is a big yes. And you're about to see just how a single word can pack in a whole narrative about a person's life, their power, or maybe even a single life-changing event. So here it is. This is our puzzle. The name is Muchikekwanape. Now, at first glance, yeah, it looks pretty complicated, maybe a little intimidating to say. But I want you to think of it like an artifact, a linguistic code that we are about to crack together. Now, to solve any puzzle, you need the right tools. And for this one, our toolkit is all about language. We have to understand the kind of language this name comes from, because its structure, well, that's the key that unlocks everything. Okay, so this name comes from Cree, which is what linguists call a polysynthetic language. Now that's a mouthful, but the idea is actually pretty cool. Unlike English, where we use a bunch of separate words to make a sentence, polysynthetic languages fuse all those little ideas into one single, powerful word. The best way to think about it is like they're linguistic Legos, right? Each little piece, it's called a morpheme, has its own specific meaning. You just click them together in the right order to build a whole thought, a complete word sentence. So our job is to basically take this name apart, piece by piece. All right, we've got our toolkit. Let's get this investigation started. We're going to apply this method right now and deconstruct the name Muchikekwanape into its core parts. Let's see what we find. So here's our evidence file. When you break the name down, you get three distinct pieces, or morphemes. The first part, muchi, seems to mean something like bad or wrong. Then you've got the middle part, kekwana, which means something. And it all wraps up with pe, which is a short version of the word for man. So we have our individual clues. Now let's put them together and see what the literal translation actually is. And, just a heads up, the result is probably not what you're expecting. Okay, first up, clue number one, muchi. On the surface, the meaning here seems pretty negative, right? Bad, evil, wrong, not a great start. Then we add that middle piece, kekwana, which just means something or a thing. So now we're building this phrase in our heads, bad something. And finally, we've got that last piece, pe, which tells us the subject is a man. So you click all those linguistic Legos together, and what do you get? What's the final build? The literal synthesized translation is pretty jarring. Bad something man, or to put it a little more smoothly, man who does bad things. Wow, that sounds like a pretty harsh judgment, doesn't it? Like a simple label for a villain. But hold on. Does that feel right? If we just stop here, we're missing the most important part of the puzzle. This translation, it just feels incomplete. And that's because it is. There is a much, much deeper layer that we need to uncover. So to really get what this name means, we have to look past the simple dictionary definitions. We need our final and, honestly, most important clue, cultural context. See, in Algonquian traditions, where the Cree language comes from, names aren't just labels like John or Mary. They are tiny, condensed stories. A name can describe a huge life event, a powerful vision someone had, or even a specific kind of power that person has. Now, let's go back to our first clue. Remember that word masiki, the one we translated as bad? Well, it turns out it has a much richer, more nuanced meaning. In this kind of context, it can also mean something formidable, something dangerous, or a kind of spiritual power. The perfect analogy is the phrase bad medicine. It doesn't mean evil medicine, it means a potent, kind of dangerous power. And this, right here, shows the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got that flat, literal translation. But look what happens when you apply the cultural context. Wrong thing man could actually mean man of fearsome power. Man who does bad things might be closer to man defined by an unfortunate event, or man of ill omen. The entire story just completely changes. So, what's the big takeaway here? The name was never a simple judgment. It was never just bad guy. It was a story, a descriptor of a powerful, central part of this person's entire identity. And this really gets to the heart of it. This name tells us that the person who held it was defined by some event or some quality that was powerful, maybe dangerous, maybe even tragic, but it was absolutely significant. He wasn't a bad man. He was a man whose story was one of formidable power or incredible circumstance. And this is why all this matters, right? By digging deeper than just the surface translation, we don't just understand a name. We get this incredible glimpse into a completely different worldview, a whole other way of seeing and describing a person's place in the world. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. We've just unlocked a whole story in one name, just by understanding its structure and its context. So what other stories might be out there, waiting to be discovered, hidden in the names of people and places and things all around us?